Sarah Martinez stepped out of her small Honda Civic, her hands trembling slightly as she grabbed her worn leather bag from the passenger seat. The Desert Rose shooting range sprawled before her, a concrete building that looked more like a warehouse than the intimidating fortress she had imagined. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly, and she could already feel sweat forming on her palms despite the early morning hour. At 28, Sarah had never held a real gun in her life. Growing up in suburban Phoenix with her grandmother Rosa, firearms were something that existed only in movies and news reports. But 3 months ago, everything changed when she started receiving the anonymous threats. First, it was just strange phone calls in the middle of the night. Then came the letters slipped under her apartment door, written in jagged handwriting that made her skin crawl. The final straw was last Tuesday when she found her car tires slashed and a note tucked under her windshield wiper that simply read, "I'm watching you." The police officer who took her report, Detective Morgan, had been sympathetic but realistic. "Ms. Martinez, we'll do what we can, but without more concrete evidence or a suspect, our options are limited. Have you considered taking a self-defense class or learning to protect yourself?" His suggestion had led her here, to this moment, standing in the parking lot of a gun range feeling completely out of place. Sarah pushed through the heavy glass doors and was immediately hit by the sharp smell of gunpowder mixed with cleaning solvent. The reception area was smaller than she expected, with wood-paneled walls covered in certificates and photographs of people holding various firearms. Behind the counter sat a large man with a graying beard, his massive arms crossed as he looked her up and down with obvious skepticism. "Help you?" he asked, his voice carrying a tone that suggested she might be lost. "I'd like to sign up for shooting lessons," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I've never done this before, so I'll need to start with the basics." The man whose name tag read Chuck let out a small chuckle. "Never shot before, huh? Well, this ain't exactly like the movies, sweetheart. Takes real skill and strength to handle a firearm properly." Before Sarah could respond, 3 men who had been examining rifles at a nearby display case turned their attention to the conversation. They were all wearing camouflage clothing and had the confident swagger of people who spent considerable time at shooting ranges. "First time?" one of them asked, a tall man with a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. "You sure you're in the right place? There's a nail salon about 2 blocks down if you're looking for something more suitable." His companions laughed, and Sarah felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She had expected this might be a male-dominated environment, but she hadn't anticipated outright mockery before she'd even touched a gun. "I'm serious about this," she said firmly, addressing Chuck rather than the men behind her. "I need to learn how to protect myself." Chuck shrugged and pulled out a clipboard with forms attached. "Your money, I suppose. Fill these out. Basic safety course is $50 and range time is 20 per hour. Jake here can get you set up with a rental gun once you've done the paperwork." Jake, a younger employee with a friendly face, seemed more sympathetic than his boss. "Don't mind them," he said quietly as Sarah began filling out the forms. "Everyone starts somewhere. I've seen plenty of beginners become excellent shots with practice." But as Sarah worked through the liability waivers and safety agreements, she could hear the 3 men continuing their commentary behind her. They spoke just loudly enough for her to hear, discussing whether she'd even be able to handle the recoil of a small-caliber pistol, or if she'd run screaming after the first shot. One of them made a crude joke about women being too emotional to handle firearms responsibly. Sarah gripped her pen tighter as she signed her name on the final form. She had come here out of necessity, driven by fear, and a desperate need to feel safe in her own life. These men had no idea what she was going through or why she needed to be here. Their assumptions about her capabilities based solely on her gender and apparent inexperience stung more than she wanted to admit. As she handed the completed paperwork back to Chuck, Sarah made a silent promise to herself. She would not let their mockery discourage her. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her fail or give up. Whatever it took, she would learn to shoot, and she would learn to protect herself. The safety briefing room was small and windowless, with folding chairs arranged in front of a whiteboard covered in diagrams of various firearms. Sarah took a seat in the front row, determined to absorb every piece of information Jake was about to share with her. Rule number 1, Jake began, holding up a bright orange plastic gun. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded, even when you know it isn't. This simple rule has prevented more accidents than any other safety measure we teach. As Jake continued through the basic safety protocols, Sarah took careful notes in a small notebook she had brought. She wrote down everything: proper stance, grip techniques, sight alignment, and trigger control. The 3 men from earlier had positioned themselves in the back of the room, and she could occasionally hear whispered comments and suppressed laughter. When the briefing concluded, Jake led the small group toward the indoor range. The sound hit Sarah immediately as they passed through the soundproof door, the sharp, explosive crack of gunfire that seemed to reverberate in her chest. Even with ear protection, the noise was overwhelming. "We'll start you on lane 12, Jake said, guiding Sarah to a shooting station at the far end of the range. "I've got a .22 caliber pistol for you to try. It's got minimal recoil, perfect for learning the fundamentals." Sarah nodded, though her heart was racing as Jake placed the small black pistol on the counter in front of her. It looked innocuous. Enough, but she knew that this moment represented a fundamental shift in her life. She was about to cross a line she never imagined crossing, driven by circumstances she never wanted to face. Jake demonstrated the proper grip, showing Sarah how to position her hands on the pistol. Your dominant hand controls the gun. Supporting hand wraps around and applies pressure from the side. Keep your thumbs away from the slide. You don't want them getting caught when the gun fires. Sarah followed his instructions carefully, trying to ignore the snickering she could hear from the neighboring lane where the 3 men had set up their own targets. They were shooting what appeared to be much larger caliber weapons, and each shot they fired seemed intentionally loud and dramatic. "Now, stance is crucial," Jake continued, positioning Sarah's feet shoulder-width apart. "Lean slightly forward, keep your arms extended but not locked. You want to create a stable platform for accurate shooting." As Sarah raised the pistol toward the paper target 25 feet away, she felt completely awkward and unnatural. The gun felt foreign in her hands, heavier than she expected, despite Jake's assurance that the .22 was lightweight. Through her safety glasses, the target seemed impossibly small and distant. "Take your time," Jake encouraged. "Line up the front sight with the rear sight, center it on the target, and slowly squeeze the trigger straight back. Don't jerk it. Smooth, steady pressure." Sarah tried to follow his guidance, but her hands were shaking slightly from nervousness. She could feel the eyes of other shooters on her, waiting to see how the obvious beginner would perform. The pressure was almost unbearable. When she finally pulled the trigger, the sharp crack of the gunshot startled her despite the ear protection. The recoil, though minimal, was more than she expected, and she instinctively flinched. When Jake activated the target retrieval system to bring her target forward, they could see that her shot had completely missed the paper. "That's normal for a first shot," Jake said reassuringly. "Let's try again, but this time, don't anticipate the recoil. Focus on your sight picture and follow through." From the next lane over, Sarah heard one of the men say loudly, "$10 says she doesn't hit the target once in the next 10 shots. His companions laughed and seemed to be taking him up on the bet. Sarah felt her jaw tighten with determination. She had dealt with condescending men her entire career as a software developer, constantly having to prove herself in meeting rooms full of colleagues who assumed she didn't belong. This situation felt familiar, even if the setting was completely foreign. She loaded another round into the chamber as Jake had shown her, took her stance, and focused intently on the target. This time she tried to block out everything around her, the noise from other lanes, the whispered comments, even Jake's well-intentioned coaching. She lined up the sights carefully, took a deep breath, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet hole appeared in the white space around the target. Still a miss, but much closer than her first attempt. Jake nodded approvingly. "Better. You're getting the feel for it. Try a few more." Over the next hour, Sarah fired round after round, slowly adjusting her technique based on Jake's feedback and her own observations of where her shots were landing. Her hands stopped shaking as she became more comfortable with the mechanics of shooting. She began to understand the rhythm: load, aim, breathe, squeeze, follow through. By her fourth magazine, she was consistently hitting the outer rings of the target. It wasn't impressive by any standard, but it was progress. Jake seemed genuinely pleased with her improvement, offering tips about breathing and trigger control that helped her accuracy. "You're doing great for your first session," he told her during a break while they reloaded magazines. "Most people take several visits before they're hitting the target regularly. You've got good focus, and you're listening to instruction well." Sarah felt a small surge of pride at his words, but it was dampened by the ongoing commentary from the men in the next lane. They had apparently lost interest in their own shooting and were spending more time watching her and making increasingly crude jokes about her technique and appearance. "Maybe she should try archery instead," one of them suggested loudly. "Seems more her speed." "Or maybe cooking classes," another added, causing them all to burst into laughter. Sarah tried to ignore them, but their constant presence and commentary were wearing on her concentration. She was paying good money to learn something important for her safety, and these men seemed determined to make the experience as uncomfortable as possible. As she prepared for her final magazine of the session, Sarah noticed that Chuck, the range owner, had come out to watch. He stood behind the firing line with his arms crossed, observing her technique with the same skeptical expression he'd worn when she first walked in. "Last 10 rounds," Jake announced. "Take your time and show me what you've learned." Sarah loaded. The magazine chambered around and took her stance. She had been thinking about something Jake mentioned earlier about visualization, seeing the bullet's path to the target before pulling the trigger. As she raised the pistol, she tried to quiet her mind and focus solely on the mechanics she'd been practicing. The first shot hit the 7 ring, the best she had done all day. The second was even better, landing in the 8 ring just left of center. By her 5th shot, she had found a rhythm that felt natural and controlled. Each trigger pull was deliberate and smooth, each follow-through complete. When she fired her final round, Jake activated the target system to bring her target forward. As the paper approached, Sarah could see that her last 10 shots had formed a reasonably tight group near the center of the target. It wasn't perfect, but it was dramatically better than her early attempts. "Well, I'll be damned," Chuck muttered, examining her target. "That's some solid shooting for a first-timer." Jake was grinning broadly. "That's what I call improvement. You've got natural ability, Sarah. With practice, you could become quite proficient." The men from the neighboring lane had gone quiet, apparently surprised by her rapid progress. Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction as she looked at her target, seeing tangible proof that she could learn this skill despite their doubts and discouragement. As she packed up her things and prepared to leave, Sarah realized that something had shifted during this session. She had come to the range feeling like a victim, someone who needed to learn to protect herself because she had no other options. But as she walked toward the exit, she felt something different. She felt capable. Sarah returned to Desert Rose shooting range 3 times over the next 2 weeks, each visit building on the skills she had learned in her previous session. Jake had become an encouraging instructor, and she found herself looking forward to their lessons despite the continued skepticism from some of the regular customers. During her 4th visit, she overheard Chuck talking to another employee about her progress. "That Martinez woman is turning out to be a decent shot," he said, apparently unaware she was within earshot. "Better than half the guys who come in here thinking they're Dirty Harry." The comment gave Sarah a quiet sense of satisfaction, but she tried not to let it go to her head. She knew she still had a lot to learn, and her reasons for being there remained deadly serious. The anonymous threats had continued, becoming more specific and more frightening. Just yesterday, she had found a photo of herself taken from across the street from her apartment building, with her face circled in red marker. Detective Morgan had been more concerned about this latest escalation, but he was still unable to provide the kind of protection Sarah needed. "We've increased patrols in your area," he told her during their meeting at the police station, "but you need to remain vigilant. Consider varying your routine, maybe staying with friends or family for a while." Sarah had no family nearby except for her elderly grandmother, and she couldn't bring herself to put Rosa at risk. Her few close friends lived in different parts of the city, and she couldn't impose on them indefinitely. The shooting lessons had become more than just a self-defense measure. They were helping her feel like she had some control over her situation. On this particular Tuesday morning, Sarah arrived at the range to find it more crowded than usual. A group of law enforcement officers were conducting training exercises in half of the facility. Their professional demeanor and precise movements, a stark contrast to the casual atmosphere she had grown accustomed to. Jake greeted her with his usual enthusiasm. "Good timing, Sarah. I've got something special planned for today's session. I think you're ready to try some more advanced techniques." He led her to a different lane than usual, one equipped with multiple target systems at varying distances. Instead of the standard bullseye targets, he had set up silhouette targets that looked more like human shapes. "Today we're going to work on practical shooting scenarios," Jake explained, handing her a slightly larger pistol than the .22 she had been using. "This is a 9mm, more recoil than you're used to, but it's what most people carry for self-defense. The scenarios will help you think about real-world applications rather than just target shooting." Sarah felt a flutter of nervousness as she handled the new firearm. It was noticeably heavier and more intimidating than the smaller pistol she had grown comfortable with. But Jake's patient instruction had given her confidence in her ability to learn and adapt. The first scenario Jake set up involved multiple targets at different distances, simulating a situation where she might need to engage threats from various positions. "Take your time," he advised. "Assess each target, acquire your sight picture, and fire when you're ready. Accuracy is more important than speed right now." As Sarah began the exercise, she noticed that several people had stopped their own shooting to watch. Among them were the 3 men who had mocked her during her first visit. They stood behind the firing line, arms crossed with expressions that suggested they expected her to struggle with the more challenging course. The increased recoil of the 9mm was immediately apparent with her first shot, pushing the muzzle up, more dramatically than she was used to. But she adjusted quickly, remembering Jake's lessons about grip pressure and stance. By her third shot, she was managing the recoil effectively and putting rounds where she intended. The scenario required her to engage 5 different targets in sequence, each presenting different challenges. The closest target was only 15 feet away, while the farthest was at 50 feet. Some targets were partially obscured, requiring her to aim for specific zones to achieve hits. As Sarah worked through the course, she found herself entering a state of focused concentration she had never experienced before. Her breathing became controlled and rhythmic, her movements deliberate and efficient. Each shot was the result of a careful decision-making process: distance assessment, sight alignment, trigger control, and follow-through. When she finished the sequence, Jake activated all the target systems to bring them forward simultaneously. As the targets approached, Sarah could see that she had achieved hits on all 5 targets, with most of her shots landing in the high-scoring zones. "Outstanding work," Jake said, examining her targets with obvious pride. "That's some serious shooting for someone who's only been at this for a few weeks. You've got natural instincts for this kind of work." Chuck had wandered over to see her results, and his expression had shifted from skepticism to genuine respect. "I've been running this range for 15 years, he told her, "and I can count on one hand the number of beginners who've shown this kind of rapid improvement. You sure you haven't done this before?" Sarah shook her head, feeling a mix of pride and surprise at her own performance. "I've never touched a gun before that first day I came in here. I guess I'm more motivated than most people to learn." One of the police officers conducting training nearby had also taken notice of her shooting. He approached during a break in their exercises, introducing himself as Sergeant Rodriguez from the Phoenix Police Department. "Excuse me, miss," he said politely, "but I couldn't help noticing your shooting. That was some impressive work, especially for someone relatively new to firearms. Have you considered competitive shooting or perhaps a career in law enforcement?" Sarah was taken aback by the suggestion. "I never really thought about it," she admitted. "I'm here because I need to learn to protect myself, not because I'm looking for a new career." Sergeant Rodriguez nodded understandingly. "I see a lot of people come through training programs, and you have natural ability that can't be taught. If you ever decide you want to explore other options, the department is always looking for qualified candidates." He handed her a business card before returning to his training group, leaving Sarah to contemplate his unexpected suggestion. The idea of becoming a police officer had never occurred to her, but she had to admit that the shooting came surprisingly naturally to her. The three men who had been watching finally approached, their earlier mockery replaced by grudging respect. The tall one with the baseball cap, who had been the most vocal in his criticism during her first visit, extended his hand. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice lacking its previous condescending tone. "When you first walked in here, I figured you'd last maybe one session before giving up. That was some fine shooting you just did. Better than most people who've been coming here for years." Sarah shook his hand, appreciating the acknowledgement even though his initial behavior had been unnecessarily cruel. "Thank you," she said simply. "I had good motivation to learn." As she packed up her equipment and prepared to leave, Sarah reflected on how much had changed since that first intimidating visit to the range. She had not only learned to shoot, but discovered an unexpected aptitude for it. More importantly, she was beginning to feel like she had some control over her safety and her life again. 3 weeks after Sergeant Rodriguez had given her his business card, Sarah found herself sitting in his office at the Phoenix Police Department. The meeting hadn't been planned. She had come to file yet another report about her stalker, who had escalated to leaving disturbing packages at her workplace. When Rodriguez recognized her in the Detective Bureau waiting area, he had insisted she come speak with him. "The threats are getting worse," Sarah explained, showing him photos of the latest incidents on her phone. "He left a dead bird on my car yesterday wrapped in a note that said, 'Soon.' My supervisor at work is starting to worry about the safety of other employees." Sergeant Rodriguez examined the photos with professional concern. "This person is definitely escalating, and that's troubling. Have you considered getting a concealed carry permit? Given your shooting ability, it might be worth exploring." The suggestion both thrilled and terrified Sarah. Carrying a firearm was a huge responsibility, one she hadn't considered when she first started taking lessons. But as the threats continued to intensify, the idea of being able to protect herself anywhere, anytime, was increasingly appealing. "I'll think about it," she said. "Right now, I'm just trying to stay safe and figure out who's doing this." Rodriguez leaned back in his chair, studying her thoughtfully. "Sarah, I've been a cop for 12 years and I've got good instincts about people. You've got something special, not just your shooting ability, but the way you think under pressure. Have you given any more thought to what we discussed at the range?" Sarah had been thinking about his suggestion more than she cared to admit. Her job as a software developer paid well, but it didn't provide the sense of purpose she found herself craving. The idea of helping people, of being part of the solution to problems like what she was currently experiencing, held genuine appeal. "I've thought about it," she admitted, "but I don't know if I'm cut out for police work. I mean, a month ago I had never even held a gun." "The academy teaches you everything you need to know," Rodriguez assured her. "What they can't teach is instinct, judgment, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. You've already demonstrated all of those qualities." He handed her a packet of information about the police academy application process. "No pressure, but if you're interested, the next academy class starts in 6 months. The application deadline is in 8 weeks." Sarah took the packet, promising to consider it seriously. As she left the police station, she felt a strange mix of excitement and uncertainty about the possibility of such a dramatic career change. That evening, she called her grandmother Rosa to discuss the situation. Rosa had been her primary support system since her parents died in a car accident when Sarah was 16, and her wisdom had guided Sarah through every major decision in her adult life. "Mija," Rosa said after listening to Sarah's explanation, "you have always been strong, even when you don't realize it. When your parents died, you could have given up, but you worked hard and got your college degree. When that man broke your heart 2 years ago, you picked yourself up and moved forward. Now you're learning to protect yourself because someone is trying to scare you. You don't back down from challenges. But becoming a police officer is so different from anything I've ever done," Sarah protested. "What if I'm not brave enough? What if I can't handle the danger?" Rosa chuckled softly. "You think what you're doing now isn't dangerous? You think learning to shoot a gun because someone is threatening your life isn't brave? Mija, you're already doing police work. You're investigating your own case because you refuse to be a victim." Her grandmother's words resonated deeply with Sarah. She had been so focused on her lack of experience that she hadn't recognized the courage she had already demonstrated. The decision to learn to shoot, to refuse to live in fear, to take control of her situation. Those were all choices that required bravery. The next morning, Sarah returned to Desert Rose shooting range with a new sense of purpose. She found Jake setting up targets for what appeared to be a more advanced training session. "Perfect timing," he said when he saw her. "I've been working on a course that simulates real-world defensive scenarios. Based on your progress, I think you're ready for some serious tactical training." The course Jake had designed was unlike anything Sarah had attempted before. It involved moving between different shooting positions, engaging targets while under time pressure, and making split-second decisions about when to shoot and when to hold fire. Some targets were clearly marked as threats, while others represented innocent bystanders. "This is about more than just accuracy," Jake explained as he walked her through the course layout. "It's about decision-making, stress management, and understanding when deadly force is justified. These are skills that law enforcement officers train on regularly." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "How did you know I was considering law enforcement?" Jake grinned. "Word travels fast in a place like this. Rodriguez called Chuck yesterday to ask about your training progress. He's really impressed with your development." As Sarah began the tactical course, she found herself facing challenges she had never encountered in her previous range sessions. The timer created pressure that made her heart race, forcing her to balance speed with accuracy. The decision-making scenarios required her to process information quickly and act decisively. During one particularly complex drill, she had to navigate around barriers while engaging multiple targets that appeared at random intervals. Some targets were clearly threatening figures holding weapons, while others were innocent civilians who should not be engaged. The exercise required her to move, think, and shoot simultaneously while making critical judgments under stress. When she completed the course, Jake reviewed her performance with obvious satisfaction. "That was exceptional work, Sarah. Your accuracy remained high even under pressure, and more importantly, you made the right decisions about when to shoot and when not to shoot. Those judgment calls are what separate good shooters from good law enforcement officers." Chuck had been watching from the observation area, and he approached with an expression of genuine respect. "Sarah, I owe you a real apology for how I treated you when you first came in here. I made assumptions based on stereotypes, and I was completely wrong. You're one of the best natural shooters I've ever seen, and more than that, you've got the right temperament for this kind of work." As Sarah packed up her equipment, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed in just 2 months. She had come to the range as a frightened woman seeking basic self-defense skills. Now she was seriously considering a career in law enforcement, and people who had initially doubted her abilities were encouraging her to pursue that path. The stalking situation remained unresolved, and the threats continued to escalate, but Sarah no longer felt helpless. She had developed skills that could protect not only herself, but potentially others as well. The idea of using those skills in service to her community was becoming increasingly appealing. That night, she sat at her kitchen table with the police, academy application materials spread before her. As she began filling out the forms, Sarah realized she was no longer the same person who had walked nervously into Desert Rose shooting range 2 months earlier. She had discovered strength she didn't know she possessed and abilities that surprised everyone, including herself. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the text message that had arrived at 3:47 a.m. "I know where you work out now. Desert Rose, right? Maybe I should pay a visit." The message included a photo of her car in the shooting range parking lot, taken just hours earlier during her evening training session. The stalker had found her safe space, her sanctuary where she had been building confidence and skills. The violation felt more personal than any of the previous threats. Sarah immediately called Detective Morgan, who arranged to meet her at the police station first thing in the morning. "This changes things significantly," Morgan told her as they reviewed the latest evidence. "He's been surveilling your activities, which means he's invested considerable time and effort in this harassment. We're going to increase patrol presence around the shooting range and your apartment, but Sarah, you need to seriously consider relocating temporarily." Sarah shook her head firmly. "I'm not running away. I've worked too hard to get my life back on track. If he wants to escalate this, then maybe it's time I stopped being reactive and started taking control of the situation. Later that morning, she met with Sergeant Rodriguez to discuss her concerns about the stalking situation and how it might affect her police academy application. She had submitted her paperwork the week before and was awaiting word about her acceptance. Actually, Rodriguez said, pulling a folder from his desk, I have some good news that might help with your current situation. Your application has been fast-tracked due to your exceptional shooting scores and the strong recommendations from the range staff. The academy director wants to meet with you next week, and there's a good chance you could start with an accelerated program beginning next month instead of waiting for the standard class. The possibility of starting the academy early was both exciting and daunting. It would mean leaving her job at the software company and completely restructuring her life. But it would also provide her with official training and resources to deal with the stalking situation more effectively. There's something else, Rodriguez continued. Given your current security concerns, we can arrange for you to participate in some advanced tactical training with our SWAT team. It's unusual for a civilian, but your shooting ability and your situation make it reasonable. The training would better prepare you for the academy and might give you additional skills to handle your stalker if the situation escalates further. The SWAT training took place at a specialized facility outside Phoenix, where Sarah found herself working alongside experienced officers who had initially been skeptical about training with a civilian. However, her performance during the shooting assessments quickly won their respect. Lieutenant Martinez, the SWAT team leader, put Sarah through scenarios more intense than anything she had experienced at Desert Rose. The exercises involved low light, shooting, moving targets, and complex tactical situations that required split-second decision-making. You've got excellent fundamentals, Lieutenant Martinez told her during a break between exercises. Your shooting is already at the level of officers who've been on the force for several years. What impresses me more is your ability to stay calm under pressure. That's not something that can be taught easily. During one particularly challenging scenario, Sarah was required to clear a mock building while identifying threats among multiple targets. The exercise simulated a hostage situation where she had to distinguish between armed criminals and innocent civilians while moving through darkened rooms. As she navigated the course with her weapon drawn, Sarah felt a clarity and focus that surprised her. Each decision felt natural and instinctive. When she encountered a target holding a weapon pointed at what appeared to be a hostage, she engaged without hesitation. When she found a target with hands raised in surrender, she held her fire and called for backup. Outstanding work, Lieutenant, Martinez said as they reviewed her performance. You just completed one of our most difficult training scenarios with better results than most rookie officers achieve after months of training. Have you considered specializing in tactical operations once you get through the academy? The suggestion was flattering, but Sarah's immediate concern remained her stalker. That evening, as she drove home from the SWAT training facility, she noticed a car following her at a consistent distance. When she made several unnecessary turns to test her suspicion, the vehicle continued to mirror her movements. Instead of driving home, Sarah headed directly to the nearest police station, calling Detective Morgan on the way to report the surveillance. The following car peeled off when she turned into the police station parking lot, but not before she managed to get a partial license plate number. We're going to find this guy, Morgan assured her as they filed the report. He's getting sloppy, probably frustrated that you haven't been intimidated. That makes him more likely to make mistakes, but it also makes him more dangerous. The next few days passed in a tense routine of heightened awareness. Sarah varied her routes to work and the shooting range, checked her surroundings constantly, and carried pepper spray in addition to maintaining her regular training schedule. The SWAT team had taught her surveillance detection techniques, and she practiced them religiously. On Thursday evening, as she prepared to leave Desert Rose after her regular training session, Jake approached her with a concerned expression. Sarah, there was a guy here earlier asking questions about you, he said quietly. He claimed to be an old friend trying to reconnect, but something felt off about him. Chuck told him we don't give out information about customers, but I wanted you to know. Sarah felt her heart rate spike. What did he look like? Average height, dark hair, maybe 40 years old. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses even though he was indoors. Chuck said he seemed nervous, kept looking around like he was worried about being seen. The description matched what little Sarah had glimpsed of the person following her car a few days earlier. Her stalker was no longer content to observe from a distance. He was actively gathering information about her activities and the people in her life. That night, Sarah made a decision that surprised even her. Instead of going home to her apartment, she drove back to the area around Desert Rose and parked, where she could observe the shooting range parking lot. If her stalker was watching her routine, she was going to turn the tables and try to identify him. Using the surveillance techniques Lieutenant Martinez had taught her, Sarah positioned herself, where she could monitor both the front entrance and the parking area of the shooting range. She had no specific plan beyond gathering information, but she was tired of being the target in someone else's twisted game. Around midnight, a car pulled into the far corner of the parking lot with its lights off. The driver sat in the vehicle for several minutes before getting out and walking toward the building. Even in the dim light, Sarah could see that he matched the description Jake had provided. Average height, baseball cap, nervous movements as he surveyed the area. Sarah carefully photographed the man and his license plate using her phone's camera, making sure to remain undetected in her position. When he returned to his car and drove away, she waited several more minutes before following at a safe distance.